Hello, hello, hello. Finally, I am here with my long awaited energy update. Thank you for your patience. I've been very patient with myself. This is something I'm also wielding a lot. Yeah, just paying attention to the energy that I'm in and what's available and what's accurate for me to be doing or creating in any moment. And I feel like this is very relevant to what we're moving through right now. We're very much coming into being very present. And I felt this many years ago, and I had this download many years ago, but I feel like it's even more present or relevant now around and coming away or moving away from not predicting the future and coming into truly creating the future in the now moment. So creating from the present reality. So yeah, I really feel like we're changing into being more present in the now and learning how to create reality from now because our timelines are so destabilized, or we'll say so open. We're very much going through, I'm sure you've been feeling it, big upheaval collectively. Now, this is evident in, how the governments are behaving right now, big movements that are being made, big changes, big rule changes, big law changes, a lot of rebellion, a lot of shaking and waking up. And, after being in America for about 3 months, just really me like on the ground seeing America as almost like a good reflection of like the Western society. We have to take everything as a mirror. The macrocosm is a mirror for the microcosm. And if you look at what's going on politically and, what's going on the ground there's a huge rise in how obvious the duality is. And this, on the paradoxical level, that means that unity consciousness is also being birthed. And in order for unity to be born, we have to allow ourselves to fully see where we are living in duality, where we are in right and wrong, good and bad, in fear and separation. And that can be in much more nuanced, small ways than you might think. So, anywhere we create separation in ourselves, and this will include spiritually as well, even talking about like politics, a lot of spiritual people tend to just stay away from the bad vibration of the news. And I'm laughing because it's part of our reality. It's part of the collective consciousness. And it's not something that we can just ignore and it will go away. It's more, the 5-dimensional reality that we're shifting into. The unity consciousness means that I take you as part of me, and that's all of you as part of me. That means the full collective, that I need to be able to expand my bandwidth to be with all of that in love and to not be in judgment or in fear or in resistance or even avoidance of it. So there's a huge shift to acknowledge that that is really happening. And there's so much crazy stuff happening in the world right now. And it's just everything is in expansion, right? So that means that, again, when I come back to looking at America as like a big world stage for the Western world, and this does not mean the full collective, it just what we're being shown, right? Which is also an illusion. We're in the rise of truth. The age of Aquarius means that truths will be unveiled. But if we take Trump for an example, he has a very big ego, a very big identity. He also has some savior complex, trying to play God on certain levels. And we are in an era of the fall of the false gods and truths unveiled. The age of Aquarius is all about truth. It's all about expansion of consciousness. It's also about expansion in technology, digital advancements, all of that good stuff. And that means that things will happen at lightning speed. So if I look at the collective that I've been witnessing more in the general population, I'm not saying amongst the light workers, but it's there as well. It's really the collective is going to have to go through a huge death of identifying with these things, death of identity, or quote unquote ego death. I don't really like the word ego because it creates confusion, creates a separate self. It's more like what is in the shadows and what is driving people that is from false light. So any agenda that is driven by greed, by fear consciousness, by lack, anything that's driven from the shadows by shame, blame, guilt. This lower vibrational, in the ethers stuff, that is going to have to go through a death. And that is going to have to come to the surface and be seen and be acknowledged, and the pain to be transformed. And there's many people that will be in big resistance to, it's like anything but an ego death, right? They just so much hold on to the reality that they've built because, if you take away people's identity, it destabilizes their whole reality, and people have their identity so that they can feel safe in this world. And I really see that it doesn't come from like a malevolent place. It's more a place of ignorance, just not knowing. Ignorance is like ignoring, and it means the light is not on. So, yeah, I'm kind of seeing that the illumination or the real source or the real God source or the real God needs to turn on. And this will be a rise up in faith. So, first we need the fall of the false gods. And this means on a microcosm level that we all need to check where we are in duality, where we are in war consciousness inside of ourselves, where we are in good, bad, right, wrong, in sides and left and right and black and white, and where we're not at peace. And the collective, problem, quote unquote problem, the collective shadow won't shift if we're not shifting our own shadows on the inside. So we are really going to go through the embodiment, and some people will go through it kicking and screaming, and some people won't go through it in this life. They will just continue on their path of shadow until they have their mission complete on a soul level. So yeah, kind of recognizing why your soul is here is going to come up in a big way. And anyone that came here to realize who they actually are, to see through the real eyes of God. And when I say God, I don't mean some big external man or source outside of you. I mean the God, the divinity within, and to not worship your identity as a God, like I am God. It's more a recognition that you are a divine being and that you are very connected and that you have a soul and an oversoul, and you come from the stars and you are embodied here on earth. You are embodied consciousness. So yeah, there's going to be shifts in understanding and understanding what the soul actually is. On a light worker level, what I'm seeing and noticing will need to happen is, again, the same stuff, the end of duality. So if you are a light worker and you are in your mission, but you're judging people that are in a lower vibration, or in resistance to people in a lower vibration, or in rejection of a lower vibration, or trying to pretend it doesn't exist, in some sort of avoidance or resistance, or not able to be with it, like needing to separate yourself from lower vibration. It's okay to have that for a while. Like I feel like we go through phases of, wanting to raise our own vibration. We create sometimes separation away from people who might drag us back into a lower vibration. And that's healthy. We need to create that space sometimes. But there's a phase that you come to in that process where you realize that you are getting stable enough in your own frequency to not be dragged into lower frequency. So it doesn't mean that you need to, avoid it anymore. It means that actually you're able to be with it and still love it as part of you, and that understand that it's on its own trajectory. And this includes being able to hear about what's going on in the world in terms of a news level, and just witnessing and observing. It's almost like, I dip in and out to see where humanity is at, to see where the collective is at, to see what the story is being told. And I'm not getting involved in the energy of fear or the energy of control, or the energy of judgment, or like catastrophe, or going to like some sort of hopeless place with it. It's more like I dip in to observe it and dip back out, and that's just healthy to know, like, this is like we're one big ocean. And the shift into unity consciousness means that everyone is our brother and sister. Like everyone that walks this earth has equal rights to be here, and equal rights to learn their soul's lessons in their own unique ways. And there is no one way. There is no one way. So anybody in the spiritual world that is selling a way, this is the guru, this is a false god, this is also going to fall. Collapse of celebrity, collapse of false gurus, collapse of spiritual ego, which I think is probably the hardest ego to allow it to die, because there's anything but being wrong about that, right? Quote unquote wrong, if you can judge yourself as getting it wrong. This is part of the perfectionism trap, like people trying to be a saint or trying to be perfect and denying their humanness. And I know for me, I was smashed back into my human last year, like really being humbled back into the body. And it was a very important process for me to really realize that my soul is in like one field, one dimension, and one trajectory, totally fine. And my human was going through a destabilized nervous system, not feeling safe in the world, not feeling cared for, not feeling loved on many different levels. And I had to really take a lot of time to slow down and to listen to my human more. And I think this can happen very easily as a light worker. You can get out of your body because it feels much better to be, traversing the other dimensional planes and to not really be here as a human. But actually, we came here to be here as a human. We came here to embody more of our light into the human form. And we're projected down consciousness into human form. So it's very important that we actually learn how to be embodied light. And this is very different from knowing something and being aware of something spiritually. So there's like this spiritual, almost intellectual, mental level of awareness that we go through where we realize topics and themes. And then there's a difference between embodying those teachings. So actually living them, being congruent with the teachings. So it's all well and good knowing that the answer to everything is love. But if you're not embodying love on every level in your life, what are you doing? What are you doing here? And I say that with love, it's just a good question of like, what am I actually doing here? If I'm busy trying to learn more on a mental level, this is more mental level control. We are really in a time where the frequency wants to shift, this shift away from the mind into a wider consciousness. And that allows us to drop down into the heart and to truly learn how to listen and reconnect to the innermost source and know that this is going to be your governing compass moving forward. And that is a reinstatement of really deeply listening to yourself, listening to your intuition, listening to your no, even though you don't know why the no is there, and truly moving in alignment with your innermost feeling. And that takes a lot of cleaning out all of the noise, especially taking away the control of the mind. Like letting go of control is one of our biggest topics, I would say, in this reality, like surrendering into life and surrendering into the unknown. And everywhere that you try and control, you will be shown where you are not in control. Unfortunately, there is no escape. I actually laughed. I have this on a cushion. I don't know if this will be the right way around. There is no escape. This is part of creating an oracle deck. And I make cushions with some of the topics. Sacred takes time. So I'll talk about there is no escape first. There is no escaping your big self and your small self. There is no escaping your shadows, and there is no escaping who you came here to be. So in terms of like your soul's blueprint and why you came here and your mission, you won't be able to escape that. If you are out of alignment or running away from or trying to assert free will or trying to control things, you will be smashed back in to your soul, smashed back into your path. You will be met with a lot of resistance. And this happens more, I feel like, people who've chose challenging paths to really birth light into this reality. So like people are on different trajectories in this lifetime. Some people came here this time for more of a resting life where they're not really moving through huge themes or topics. And some people came here for great challenges in this time to really birth consciousness here. And I would say that's a very brave path. I'm dealing a lot at the moment with people who have very severe, we'll say like unexplainable illnesses or like incurable illnesses. And I see so much the thread of all of them, of like how much they chose to embody this to really show the whole family what was going on or what was not being acknowledged or the pain of the family lineage. And I see it as like a really brave thing for a soul to take on, actually, to clear one big piece of karma in one lifetime. And yeah, I just have a lot of respect and reverence for like the human that goes through a lot of pain in that process, but also the massive gifts that come from the challenge. And this is like something that I'm really noticing at the moment as well. I know this anyway, but I'm just getting a lot of visceral experiences at the moment of these portals of pain where somebody gets like a shock, a diagnosis, an accident, a breakup, something happening where their whole reality kind of crumbles. There's a huge opening, a huge portal, a huge opening in that moment to actually shift into a new dimension. And I'm seeing when people are in that open state, they don't have so many constructs anymore that they're holding on to because their whole reality is being shattered. For me, working with those people in those portals, it allows me to really reach into their reality and really help them see where they are and see a pathway out of that, or a pathway into a higher dimension for themselves and a higher experience. So, yeah, any portal of pain or change or like any big upheaval is a huge gift, even though it seems like horrible in the moment. It's actually a really big blessing. And I know that for myself, going through cancer last year, it was like the biggest blessing and the biggest portal of transformation that I could have asked for. By the way, this year is the year of the snake, which is transformation. So buckle up, hold on tight. If there's a life that you're living that you're not in alignment, or it's not your highest alignment, a lot will possibly destabilize this year to allow you to rearrange yourself so that you can live your soul's purpose, or at least get on track with it. Sometimes this happens where I feel like sometimes I'm in a year ahead of like the year of what we're moving through. Like the year before, like last year was the year of the dragon, but I felt like I went through a dragon initiation the year before that. So yeah, last year I had a lot of dreams around snakes before I got my diagnosis. And then I went through this big visceral, physical, soul level, emotional transformation and healing. And I can only say it was the biggest gift. I could not have prayed for a bigger portal of change for myself and a bigger awakening into the new frequency. And yeah, unfortunately, we learn through sometimes very hard challenges. And I feel like on a human level, we need that. Otherwise, we're too comfortable. And when you're comfortable, you're not willing to change. You're busy holding on to a nice, comfortable reality that you've created for yourself. And yeah, I feel like we're getting more into that present moment living where you're not in a false sense of security. You're just becoming secure in yourself and who you are now and who you are here to embody. So yeah, this other one, sacred takes time. It's probably going to be backwards on the screen. And divinity takes care of itself. Sacred takes time. We are in a time of great upheaval, chaos, right? We're really in this spinning and moving, like the house is shaking, and there's a lot of change happening quickly. And this is because the frequency is speeding up. We're becoming faster as a species, and that means our vibrations raising. This raising vibration is just a faster frequency. And that means that we're vibrating and we are slowed down light here. That means that our light is oscillating at a faster speed to the Earth's frequency speeding up as well. So we're all raising together. And that creates a lot of instability inside, especially when there's a lot moving outside where like your reality is kind of crumbling around you, or maybe like the societal structures are crumbling and there could be big rebellion coming, whatever. You don't need to worry about it. It's more, how can I stabilize myself and slow down? And I call it like slowing down to speed up. So how can I slow down and get more present and get more still and stable on the inside in a time of chaos? How can I find peace and stillness in the madness? And how can I get into the center of the storm as the wizard, creating reality from that center point, collapsing time into that center point so that you are actually taking your time to slow down and feel and create reality from a much slower, wise place. So yeah, I always say it's sacred takes time. There's no rush. If I was in a rush, I would be way far ahead than I am now in terms of my output and what I'm creating. But I really see the beauty in how much I've allowed myself to not rush the process. And I've been going through such a huge rebirth for like the last 5 or 6 years. And I thought like, the first time you realize you're rebirthing yourself, I thought like, oh, that's it. I'm my new self now. And it was just more every time I was becoming a clearer version of who my new self was or who my real self was. So it's like every time I went through a rebirth, I would shed another layer of illusion of who I wasn't. And had I tried to like move out of that too quickly or make a movement or create prematurely, I would have missed a lot. And it's not that it would be miscreation. It's just more sacred takes time and divinity takes care of itself. And that means that when you take care of yourself as a divine being, you will also be taken care of as a divine being. So yeah, there's really like no safer place to be than in alignment with your soul and why you came here. And deep in remembrance of who you are. And this is something that's going to come up a lot in question over the next few years, is like, what is my purpose? Who am I? What am I doing here? Where am I? Why did I come here? And if you don't have these questions, maybe they will pop up for you, maybe they won't. If you're watching this video, you likely do have these questions because you will be drawn to me because of your light worker blueprint that you came here to embody. And in order to embody who you actually are, you need to really clear out anywhere that you might be modeling yourself around what you think a light worker looks like, what it looks like to have a spiritual gift, what light work looks like on any level. So like clearing out modalities, lineages, ways of doing things. And not to say that no modality or like skill that you've learned is like not useful. It's just more, if we identify as something, a lot of the time we're just limiting ourselves. So say, for example, someone creates a modality and then they create a copyright on it and then they sell it as a course, a specific thing that they own. For example, I don't know, Reiki. I love Reiki. I've trained in it myself. It's just really attunement with energy and learning how to master healing through the body and bringing that light source frequency through you. But Reiki in itself is somebody's creation. And there's many different ways that light source wants to move through people. And if you identify yourself with just being something specific like a Reiki healer, you will never really discover who you really are. Oh, you can discover yourself within that modality. But if you keep yourself limited by a modality, for example, you'll be left with a question mark or like a feeling of slight dissatisfaction because it's not really all of it. It's a piece of it. Like energy healing will be a piece of you, and working with light and these inner technologies will be a piece of you, but they won't be your full essence. And this is something for me that I really found like kind of key to my journey, was really not getting stuck in any kind of modalities or learning anything, more diving deep into the inner questioning of like, who am I? What is my essence? What am I into? What do I care about? What are my gifts? What are my skills? Like, what am I really, really interested in and good at? And it starts to reveal itself over time to you. And it's not something that comes in immediately. It's like something that unveils itself the more you unveil the illusions that are masking who you actually are. Yeah, so this is something I'm deeply passionate about because I want to see a world where everyone remembers who they are and their uniqueness. And in order to remember your uniqueness, we have to get out of copying and comparing ourselves to others or trying to be more special than. This is another program that we all come across in the realm of light workers. And I feel like there's a lot of shadows that are still needing to be shifted through the light worker realm, through the spiritual realm, in terms of like getting into the 5-dimensional field of love, stabilizing in love. We need to clean the consciousness of competition and comparison. These are lack frequencies. We need to get out of spiritual hierarchy. We need to get out of the idea that anyone can copy you, that you are copyable. When I laugh at this one because it's a perfect teaching. If you are afraid of somebody copying you, it means that you don't believe in yourself fully, like you don't see yourself fully, because there's only one of you. You're born an original, please do not die a copy. And I just like that phrase so much. Do not die a copy. Remember who you are, don't forget your gifts. And if you really know that your essence is not copyable because you are a unique embodiment of consciousness, you are a human merged with soul. There's only one of you on this earth. There will only ever be this version of you. So get into loving who you are fully. And if we move from a place without that piece in the center, we will get caught in comparison, power over structures, guru dynamics, trying to make other people small so that we feel powerful. Just a lot of things that are related to lack. So it's really important as a light worker that we own any shadows that are linked to lack. And this will include lack in self-worth, lack in abundance, finding purpose first and learning how to serve through purpose versus like chasing money. This is something else that like will rise more and more, is like how distorted the greed consciousness is and how people are focused on money and will say winning on a material level, but they may not have a purpose linked in with it. And this is not to make like material wrong or like money bad. It's actually more a recognition of, if you are chasing money and you are empty on your purpose, you're going to always feel unfulfilled at the end of it. So purpose needs to come first. So if you're thinking about money as the first point of why you would create anything, there's something up for questioning in terms of the shadows or the unconscious aspects that may be driving you. And the reason I'm able to speak about all of these things is I've I've moved through and questioned all of these things inside of myself previously, and I continue to make sure and check and question everything, and always questioning my why around anything. Why would I do anything? Why would I create anything? And if it doesn't come from an alignment with like why I'm here and who I am, it doesn't happen. And I see more and more that things are not allowed to happen if they're not congruent for me anyway. So sometimes I'll have an idea that I'm going to co-create with somebody, but actually the idea comes from a shadow and it just doesn't happen. It like falls away. Or it comes from not even the shadow, it'll come from a mind idea versus actually a true soul agreement, or like what is actually in the highest alignment for me in that time. Something else that light workers specifically need to shift through, and this is a really big one, is a savior complex. Martyr and savior. This comes from religion. It comes from really wanting Jesus to save us, or wanting like an outer source to come and take responsibility for us and to take us and save us from our pain. And a lot of light workers end up trying to save other people. They need victims to save. This is like a victim, villain, savior kind of dynamic, and it all comes from lack. It all comes from lack of power. It all comes from misplaced power. And yeah, it's truly not holding people in their highest power by trying to take responsibility for them. So cleaning the savior aspect. So if you're going around trying to save sick people or people who are down and out, there's something to check in it in terms of your worth, because your worth could be caught in trying to save people who don't want responsibility for themselves. And that just ends up being heavy for you, and it ends up robbing the other person the responsibility to actually truly find the power inside of themselves to save themselves. So we're really going to be exposed anywhere that we're in victim consciousness. We're being squeezed into allowing ourselves to see where we don't feel empowered, or where we don't feel powerful, or we don't feel capable, where we don't want responsibility, where the world feels heavy. It's all relevant. And what's missing usually in the victim, savior, and villain, like I like to call it abuse, because I see it kind of going like abuse and victim together. What's usually missing is true compassion. Like real, true love, because when there's someone who's in victim, there's like sympathy for them sometimes. And this comes from the judging them, or like positioning them as like, oh, poor you, versus empathy, being able to be with them, just truly be with them. And this is something that like I noticed so much for me after like what I went through last year. I just so much wanted someone to be able to just be with me, not try to fix me, not try to tell me what to do. I just wanted someone to be with me, hold my hand and say, hey, I see you, you're going to be okay. I'm holding you in your highest. I know you understand why you're in this. I wanted someone just to reaffirm that I can do this. And it wasn't there. It was like so much lacking in the field. It was amazing. So that showed me that I need to clean this piece inside of me. And there was no true compassion available, because I wasn't being congruently compassionate towards myself. And that's a really like big piece for me that I was really blind to. Like I knew what compassion was, and I could access the frequency, but in terms of having it truly there inside of me, embodied, it wasn't. So yeah, a shift towards compassion as a great superpower. And I see now, I have attracted compassion in my field now afterwards. So it's like vibrational resonance, understanding that you can't really truly have something outside of you if it's not inside of you. So what's happening in your reality is a really direct mirror of who you are and what you're embodying. So if you have loads of victims all around you, or if you're the only person around you that's on your level, take a look at the power dynamic that you might be playing in terms of like savior and feeling safe when you are above people. And it doesn't come from a conscious place. It just comes from a fear of being irrelevant or not worthy or not deserving. So yeah, we're in a time of reckoning, like really being willing to see these things, like truly being willing to see these shadows and alchemize them, and being able to expand into courage and bravery to be able to face them and change them, and having the courage to change them and choose differently. And this is what the 5-dimensional field is about. This is what unity consciousness is about. What I've been really noticing over these last few weeks, it's been wild. Like there's been some very big upshifts, like really like big changes happening. And I noticed this once or twice a year for the last 5 or 6 years. We've just been on fast forward in terms of like upshifts in consciousness. And I really start to notice like we go through like some really intense, palpable, feelable, visceral upshifts once or twice a year. And we're in one right now. I feel like we're at the other side of it now. Well, I am anyway. And it wasn't a big upheaval or anything. It was just more a very obvious new layer of consciousness was available to me. And I could see my capacity to truly witness everybody in my life as God, and to truly honor and see the God and the goddess in everybody. And at the same time, being able to see the shadows that are living inside of all of us and transmuting them in lifetime. So it was this real, I take you as part of me. I honor you as part of me. I see the God in you. I see the goddess in you. And for the first time, I've really been able to alchemize stuff in lifetime. And this is a nice shift for me out of like, needing to separate myself from like certain challenging layers of consciousness, and being okay to stand up in challenge, and being okay to widen into love, and being okay to be vulnerable, to be open, to be transparent, and to be honest, even when the opposite is going on in the field. Be okay to be in love when somebody else is in fear and lack and in victim and blame and shame and whatever. It's like not running away from things, not creating separation, not judging something as a lower vibration, is truly to be with it and to actually embody light, and to be in that frequency of love and stabilize love, even when that's happening, even when that's playing, because it's all divinity trying to find its way through all of it. So it's all people in forgetfulness of the love that they are. And we don't judge that. We take that with respect and honor, and we honor the pain of facing the shadows, and we honor the path of the human. And I want to walk on an earth where people have reverence and care for the human, like truly care. And when you're clear about what you care about, it becomes a lot easier to stand up in consciousness. I care about truth. I care about love. I care about honesty. I care about consciousness. I must therefore live in truth, in honesty, in consciousness, in love, in freedom. I care about these things. If I'm struggling to make a decision whether I challenge something or not, I just have to check in. Is this congruent or in alignment with what I care about? What is the movement if I care about this? And this is actually, I have another cushion. It's like I planned this. These are just the cushions on my couch. Sacred at the center. What is sacred to you? Are you able to put it in the center of your life and allow everything else to move around it? Are you powerfully showing up, or are you playing small? No more playing small, no more hiding. This is a year of do or die. If you're a light worker, you're going to be shaken into your purpose. So the more you can decide and take action on aligning with your purpose now, the less you'll be dragged into it kicking and screaming. And I say that I say that with a smile, because sometimes we try to hold on so much that we do end up getting dragged into it kicking and screaming. Your soul came here on a mission. It's not going to allow you to escape that mission. There is no escape. You came here to live something. The more that you align with that, the better your life is. And I think this is one thing that we really need to realize. It's like getting out of the idea that you could ever fail at this. It's the more you align with your blueprint and your higher self and why you came here, the better your life's going to get for your human as well. Like this is so key. It's super important. So yeah, I just feel like encouraging you that your highest alignment is your highest alignment for your human as well as your soul. Understanding vulnerability as a superpower, and also that your focus is your greatest commodity. So in a world of disconnection and distraction and chaos and noise, plugging out from false sources of light, plugging back into the true source of light and plugging back into your heart and deep listening, and ability then to move from a place of deep listening versus destabilized distraction, yeah, all over the place kind of energy. So getting into honing your focus and powerfully showing up, knowing that that's a great challenge in the time that we're in. There's so much available distraction and distortion and noise and chaos all around us that we really need to learn how to stabilize ourselves in that in order to not be pulled into it. So, in order to really powerfully show up in who you are, you need to unplug from everything that is pulling you away from that day to day. So, yeah, focus is a superpower. Vulnerability also a superpower. In a world where, in a world that has become very disconnected from feeling, and that has been because there's so much pain and there's so much pushing and forcing and so much beating the body into submission, it's become like an escape mechanism or an avoidance tactic to actually unplug from feeling. Because when you start to open yourself to feel, you feel everything. Sometimes you feel the collective stuff. But when you allow yourself to feel all of your pain, all of your heartache, all of the things that have happened in your life, allow yourself to feel other people, allowing yourself to feel what people say, not disconnecting and unplugging and being in self-protection. You truly give yourself an opportunity to allow your heart to be broken open. And this is a beautiful thing. Like for me, it's just the sweetest thing to be able to feel my heart, to be able to feel alive. So even if you're in grief or heartbreak or something intense, man, you feel alive. So it's a great awakener. So knowing that, like, being vulnerable and learning how to share how your heart actually feels versus being in like a self-protection or like fear-based, ego-based self-defense mechanisms where we're armored and we're closed and we're cold and we're shut off. Yeah, we'll be pushed more to be more vulnerable moving forward because this beauty of the heart wants to be seen more. And in order for that vulnerability to come forward, we truly need to become more safe in our own hands. So that means truly taking care of yourself. Again, I'll go back to divinity takes care of itself. You got to take care of yourself as a divine being. You got to honor your heart. And I don't mean like removing yourself or like self-protecting or like hiding yourself away. It's just truly like honoring yourself and like standing up in your heart if anyone around you is attacking you or in an unwelcome projection or, whatever it is. It's just allowing yourself to truly become safe in your own hands and creating or actually learning how to express consciously how you feel and what you're okay and not okay with in these types of interactions. And this is again like healing the abuse and victim dynamic. So you really have to stand up in who you are and care for yourself, not allow people to trample all over you. And this is also something that a lot of light workers embody. They really like try to be nice to be liked sometimes. And this is like killing the nice girl and killing the good boy. It's like actually that's a really big program, and not wanting to be seen as bad or mean or blah, blah, blah. Not wanting to reject someone because you don't want them to feel rejected or pain. And it comes from shadow. So if you're not taking care of yourself and if you're allowing abuse in your field, if you're allowing shadows when you can clearly see them and you're not finding a movement with it, either a movement away or an invitation into a conscious conversation and a conscious expression of, hey, I'm not okay with you speaking to me like that. And yeah, would you be willing to, meet me on a different level? And this doesn't feel good for my heart. It's like not getting into defense or not getting into anger or, not making anger wrong. It's just more learning how to be in the heart in these scenarios and like consciously move through the expression of the heart and like birthing the voice of the heart versus the hurt that usually comes out spitting anger and violence and hatred. And it's a self-protection mechanism from not saying no. So there's a really big gift in learning consciously how to say no and truly listen to yourself. And you'll never be safe in your own hands if you do not know how to say no, if you're a yes man or a yes woman. So yeah, conscious boundaries, and it happens through conscious expression. and its expression to create connection, not disconnection. And if somebody doesn't honor you or listen to you and what you're saying or sharing, and they're not meeting you, or they're not willing to transform with you, they're not willing to have that shadow alchemized with you, then you can cut them away. I've been in a big slicing and dicing certain energies out of my field, and this is consciously choosing to cut away certain things. And yeah, it's really just seeing where people are showing up and use and abuse energy, or people that are living through agenda instead of intention. Sometimes not even a hidden agenda, it's just an obvious, this is what I want from you. And it's a transactional relationship versus a relationship that truly cares about you and you're human and is truly honoring you and treating you as a sacred being, as part of themselves. Yeah, I was really faced in this eclipse season a lot with people in my fields that were really truly not honoring me as a part of themselves, and that were operating openly through shadow. I called it in to be shown it, and then when I was shown it at such an obvious level, I just became very clear that I'm really okay to actually cut that away. I first invited it into more consciousness, and then I learned how to cut it away. So yeah, this was like very liberating for me, just to like cut away where I was in agreement to be used and abused, just through people with an unconscious agenda that were not really there in their heart. And there's no shame or blame in that. It's just really acknowledging that I can really hear frequency now. And this is me, again, standing up more powerfully in my gifts. Our gifts are going to be much clearer and sharper, and we're going to get more tuned into really, truly what we are gifted at and what we were gifted with and what we chose to embody on a soul level here in this time. And when you know something and you truly know it from the inside, it's really okay to acknowledge and know that you know that, and believe it and align behind it and move powerfully in alignment with that, and not need to explain yourself and not need to convince anyone. It's like when you know, you know. That's it. There is no need for second guessing yourself anymore. So yeah, if you are a seer and a knower, and if you have these senses open, the psychic senses, if you have an ability to see into and to feel into people, and you know something and you're in discernment, it's really okay to acknowledge that you truly do see and know it accurately in terms of what consciousness is coming towards you, what is the frequency that people are approaching you with, and giving them an opportunity to bring it into the light. And if they are unwilling, it's okay to Kali, cut it away. And this is something that I feel like is very difficult for light workers, because we don't want to create any pain, but actually cutting it away is just saying, no, I'm a no to allowing that in my field. And after trying to invite it to dance with you, I just feel like it's important that we stand up in what we care about. And that also means caring about the human. But if you're only met with ego and with like a fighting energy or a war energy or a judgment energy, whatever, and they're not willing to open their heart to look at it with you, then there's full permission to embody Kali and to wield the sword of consciousness of Shiva and to cut it away. So yeah, there's a clarifying, a cutting away, and a just really like rising and standing up in who you are more powerfully. And in order to be able to do that, you really have to get in touch with who you really are. What is your essence as a soul? What did you come here to embody specifically? And it's the most beautiful experience to actually discover what your essence is as a soul. It is like, for me, it's been like having a front row seat of like witnessing my higher self birthing itself through me. Like this, I could not think of a more magnificent show to really truly birth your essence and be a witness to it, and to really get into like loving that. Like you are going to be your best creation because you created you perfectly, including all of the challenges that you chose to come here through. You designed it perfectly. It is a perfect design and a perfect gift. And you embodying who you are is the gift. You being present and standing up in who you are fully is the greatest gift that you can give to this reality. And learning how to stabilize and anchor yourself into the grid of light and of love and the field of the 5-dimensional consciousness, where we're building this new dimensional reality from this new 5D field. And for me, I just have so many confirmations from the inside space of me of like who I am and why I came here. And one of the the very big reasons I am here is to anchor the grid of consciousness. And a lot of people will have like similar mission, but will embody it in different ways. So same, but different. Again, you're born an original, don't buy a copy. Become who you are here to be, express. You're like unleash and unlock your true expression. Discover what that is. Take time out to feel into who you really are. Take time out to listen into who you really are. Get into yourself. No more external searching. There is no amount of doing or learning or course taking that is going to show you who you are if you're caught in searching for a modality or searching for an answer or searching for something that you can do or practice. Actually, all of those things will keep you away from really discovering what you are here to be. And the more you can create space to not be in anything on a level of like learning a new skill or truly not getting wrapped up in the next thing, the next thing that I'm going to learn because I don't feel like I'm enough. Or we go into course after course after course because I almost said curse because we think, oh, well, I just need to know a little bit more. Oh, that sounds interesting. And they're all relevant. You learn a lot through all of them. But get into practicing. Get into feeling and experiencing and acknowledging the gifts that you do have open. Like if you're obsessing over the third eye not being open, but maybe you're here to be more of a sentient being, like you're more feeling based or more cognizant, or you're here to do automatic writing, or you're here to sing, your third eye is pretty irrelevant. So it's getting into what your blueprint is. What's the most natural for you? What are you the most drawn to? What do you feel the best when you're doing? Get into like alignment with what is your highest desire and your highest passion. Whew. So yeah, that feels like a lot. There's a million more things that I could share, but I want to keep it at that for now. I may do a few more of these this year. Honoring like how I used to do these in the past was more, kind of trying to predict the future. Not so much, but a little bit that would have been there. And I just more now read consciousness and read energy and see where we're at on an energetic level, on a collective level, learning how to see what your role is in the collective, like what you are the one drop in the ocean of consciousness. So I really want to give useful information that is of the time that we're moving through. So whenever you're watching this will be the right time that you will be moving through whatever I'm speaking about, probably. These things tend to be timeless. And yeah, in order to be timeless, we need to get out of the timeline that we think we're on and get into creating reality from the now moment and not getting caught up in trying to predict the future. We can definitely see the timelines that are open in front of us, and we get to choose consciously which timeline that we want to anchor in and create. So in terms of like World War III, there's already a wide open timeline for that. But are you going to obsess with getting caught into that or just witness that it's a timeline that's happening? Or are you going to focus your attention and awareness and your frequency and your life force energy into creating the grid of consciousness that you want to see in the world, into anchoring the 5-dimensional field, into bringing more love here? Are you going to focus your time, attention, and energy on creating that instead of trying to fight against or battle something that is history repeating itself? And part of unity consciousness is to rise in the remembrance of all of the pain of the fall of the empires that have gone before us, the pain of the mental poisons that created the fall. And if we try and forget what happened in the past, a lot of the time when you have a painful experience, you tend to want to forget it and move on. But if you truly get all of the lessons and the blessings from what has happened and you rise and build with the memory of that, not with the story, with the memory of it, that you can truly create a new reality that won't repeat the same mistakes or the same shadow consciousness, because there are no mistakes, but the same shit show, forgive my French, of like what we've created from shadow in the past. So it's an opportunity to rise into light and to truly anchor more light here in the now moment, creating reality from the present moment, not getting caught up in the future, knowing that we're choosing the timeline now and the next day we have a blank slate again. So creating from a blank slate every day, the ability to let go on that level, to really not need to know where you're going to be in a month's time even, or like even tomorrow. For me, I'm in such a big portal of the unknown, but it's even though it's a very challenging place sometimes to be, for me has the most potential because there are the most timelines open, because I'm not hooked into a certain reality or like set on a specific timeline. You open to the infinite, you open to magnificence beyond your imagination, because you're not hooking into or holding on to a certain reality out of comfort. So yeah, it's really learning how to be okay in discomfort and how to be okay to challenge and to be in challenge. So there's one more thing that I want to share. Of course, I always have one extra little piece that I want to add that I forgot. I just feel it's very relevant in the times that we're living. You know, when I was talking about we're in a fall of the false gods, and one of these like really big false gods is money and the greed and possession consciousness and the idea that you can own things and people. And, you know, we can never truly own anything, and you definitely can't own love. So, anytime we try to possess or own love or people, something that's not ownable, it will get away from us. So, the more you try and grip onto something, the more it will get away from you, the more you will crush and kill that love. So, I really see a shift into freeing love. And that means getting out of ownership and possession consciousness and into trusting in love. And that's a really huge shift because, you know, when a lot of people have focused so much on materialism and possession and gain as a marker of success or like worthiness, it's a misplaced version of love. So we've misplaced our worth in external material things, and we'll feel hollow or unlovable on the inside. And I see this a lot in people that have like gained massively on a material level but ignored the inner space or ignored their heart, and then end up trying to buy love or like buy people. And yeah, always having people around them who are then there to use and abuse them versus actually love them, because they're not in love. So yeah, there's going to be like a need for a shift back into freeing love and not getting possessed by greed and fear and not getting possessed by material. And again, it doesn't mean that you can't have material. It means that material is a byproduct of purpose. You know, having material things and having energy to be able to reinvest in what you're creating is a byproduct of you being in alignment with your highest purpose, in alignment with love, in alignment with your own liquid gold inside of you. And it's to know that that liquid gold is not something that anybody else can ever own. And if you allow yourself to be possessed or be owned, that possession will take over you too. So it's really important that if we are somehow trapping or killing or crushing love through possession, that we need to free ourselves from the constructs of the minds that keep us in possession and in fear. And yeah, it's a really big shift into calibrating into freedom in love. And true freedom is when you really don't try and escape yourself. You go deep into your shadows and you free yourself from the constraints and the constructs of the mind that keep you in a golden cage, in a golden reality that may be very comfortable but really not free. So, yeah, I have a prayer for a remembering of freedom and love and not trying to possess anything. Actually, love is something like you hold it in the center and you nurture it and you water it and you prop it up and you support it, but you don't try and hold on to it. You don't try and possess it, or it will possess you and you will end up not in love. You will end up in many other things but love. I shared in one of my other videos that I really came across this greed consciousness when I was traveling. And I could see how one guy specifically was really trying to possess this liquid gold that he could feel that I had in my heart, that he didn't know or didn't have access to inside of himself. And I can see so much how light workers or people who are in connection to their divine essence could actually allow themselves to be drained of this very life force, to be drained of this love if they fall into an agreement of somebody who has, we'll say, possessive wealth or material wealth, but they are disconnected from their soul. They're not in alignment with their soul. They're not listening to their heart. They're not allowing love to flow through them or to be true in them. It can absolutely drain you of your golden life force, liquid gold love that you have inside of you. So it's very important that we don't look for an outer savior, especially in relationships and in partnerships where, you know, we want the comfort of somebody else just taking care of us, right? Taking care of. Whereas there's a difference between like honoring and supporting each other as divine beings and being in it together and truly caring for each other versus trying to own or possess, or you unconsciously end up disempowering your partner because you don't trust in love and you try to pour material wealth onto them so that they don't run away, or that you value that more than you value yourself. So, yeah, it can be a very big trap and get directly in the way of love actually blossoming in a connection. So, if you allow yourself to be used and abused, you will always end up feeling empty. And if you allow yourself to be a source of liquid gold light for somebody who's in possession, you will always be possessed by that very gold that is on the outside. So, yeah, a shift towards inner gold and a shift away from chasing the outer gold. And the outer gold will be there by default as a result of you having the inner gold embodied and you in alignment and serving powerfully in your purpose. So, on that note, may you be blessed in your non possession of love, and may you be free inside of yourself and outside of yourself, and free to love and free to trust and free to be who you are. So, yeah, sending you blessings, 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 blessings for the lessons that we're all rolling through, and sending you blessings for an easeful passage and a gentle time for your human. And yeah, I'll look forward to showing up again soon to share something new.